Anything for you. My son is napping right now. He is 10 months old. Um, everyone's always like, "Where are you heading? What are you up to?" So I'm going to take everything in this first weekend remotely uh, at the NCAA tournament. I've gone to the sites and stuff, and I'm taking this in remotely because Nick, when you're at one site, you can't see everything that's happening. You could say that you are, but there's just no way that you can. Um, and I could spend a little bit of time with the family because, as you well know, you watch all the games, so like it's funny because a lot of the ESPN, Fox, and NBC people that have been working college games, the last like 3 weeks leading up to the tournament is our insanely busy stretch. So I'm just getting off of like a 15-day and 18-day swing heading into the tournament. Not that we all wouldn't love to call NCAA tournament games. I'm not
Of
saying
course.
that, but I'm back home. So my son is napping. Don't worry, America. He is not like alone in the house. My wife is inside the house, but I am not going to. I love you, Nick. So I stepped out to the vehicle to do it, but I'm not waking up my 10-month-old because we're talking about the NCAA tournament. I think that would lead me to get some papers filed directly at me.
I forget about the papers, man. More like the chain reaction that sets off when your kid doesn't get sleep is worse than whatever the papers are going to. I totally understand.
Correct.
And thank you very much.
Correct.
So let's start, man. This is the best time of year. Let's start breaking down the NCAA tournament. And I actually want to start with Duke. And, I think, you and I have had a couple conversations over the course of the season. And I know you're obviously high on Duke. I'm high on Duke. I felt like if you had asked me a month ago who wins the title, no question for me, the answer is Duke. But we have to deal with the information we have now, and they're not fully healthy. So with that being said, right, Foster, Gungba, Foster out, I think that's a little more clear that he's going to miss probably the whole tournament. How do you feel about Duke in a really tough region coming out and getting to the Final Four?
Yeah, I do feel like it's complicated, and even though I have them coming out of that region, I'm not so sure. Now, do they cruise to the second weekend? I would imagine so. I don't trust. Look, I think TCU is going to beat Ohio State. That's. I think Ohio State's a slight favorite there, but people are underestimating Jamie Dixon as a coach and David Punch as a player. And the Horned Frogs, they don't get a bunch of national attention because they are TCU. But I'm here to tell you, I know Bruce Thornton. I'm so glad he's playing the NCAA tournament, but I think TCU could get past them. Regardless, Duke's draw to the second weekend is relatively easy. Here's the thing. You're asking yourself the question. This question of them getting picked off is also a little bit dependent on how much faith do you have in Kansas or St. John's. And Nick, that's such a fascinating potential game because we don't we don't know what to expect from those teams. We've seen different versions of those teams all season. Kansas, how much will Darren Peterson play? Could he exit at halftime? Yeah, he could. When they
Right.
play their best, are they good enough to get to Indianapolis? Of course they are. St. John's, they've won 19 of 20. It wasn't a weaker Big East, but they have won 19 of 20. Zuby Ejiofor is playing like an All-American right now. Whether he is or not, he is playing like an All-American. But can they get enough perimeter shot making? All right, so you look at that region and you say, well, Dan Hurley's in that region. Uh-oh. Connecticut's at their best when they're in the NCAA tournament. Watch out. UConn could pick off Duke in a regional final. No reason why they can't. Wait a minute. Tom Izzo's in that region? They have Jeremy Fears. Duke's point guard is missing, and they have Jeremy Fears. Oh, and they have multiple big men. So Patrick Gongba better be healthy and playing, because if he's not playing, Michigan State's going to win the battle on the boards. And if Jordan Scott hits any threes, it's Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo climbed the mountain against Krzyzewski when nobody had him winning, and they beat Zion, RJ, and Reddish in Washington, D.C. Oh, and this elite game is also Washington, D.C. So, yet, if Duke makes the Final Four, they're going to have to earn it. I thought they got the toughest draw. I think it will show. And, yeah, I am concerned. But here's the thing, Nick. I've covered Cameron Boozer since he was in high school and at a variety of events. Every time I've covered Cameron Boozer in an event, it has ended with him hoisting the trophy. So I am not going against that young man. And I think that you're going to see Sarr and Hemenya, and Evans is so good. I think you'll see them be able to drive that car to Indy. I still trust them enough, but your point is well taken.
So we do have a piece of breaking news here, John, from like your old friends. And I know you're still friends with them now at the Field of 68. Louisville's Mikel Brown not expected to play this week for Louisville. So against South
Yeah.
Florida and then potentially against Michigan State or I guess North Dakota State in the second. So wanted to make sure I got that news into the show. Mikel Brown not expected to. You're shaking your head. Big time upset alert for them against the Bulls, right? South Florida kind of feels a little underrated coming into this tournament.
I don't even think it's going to be an upset. I think South Florida's going to win this game, and I think that they're capable of making the second weekend. Look, Wes Enos and Isaiah Nelson, they are a really dynamic duo. This team plays one of the best tempos in the country. Ryan Conwell will be so paramount for Louisville, but I don't think that Louisville. I don't. When I look at USF, I think to myself, all right, will a team be able to slow down the game and just attack USF's defense on the glass and bully them? That's not Louisville, Nick. It's not who they are. Without Brown, they fail to be there. Without Brown, they're more like an 8-9 seed. They're not a 6 seed. So USF should be an 8 or 9. They're good enough to be. They can win this game, and they could win this game by 10. I'm not kidding you. I think that the Bulls are going to win this game. And here's a little spicy one for you. They're not
Ooh.
going to be the only 11 seed to win a first round game.
All right, so that begs the obvious follow up question, right? VCU against North Carolina with no Caleb Wilson. The winner of tonight's game, Miami, Ohio of SMU against Rick Barnes in Tennessee, and then Texas against BYU. I'll tell you this. I think I like North Carolina. I wouldn't be shocked if North Carolina lost. I think Texas is going to beat BYU. Which 11 seed do you like, John, other than South Florida against Louisville?
Two more. I like Texas to knock off BYU. I think that it's a long trip from Dayton to Portland, but I don't love the psyche of BYU right now. It's all about, are you playing your best? The injury to Saunders has thrown them off. And here's the thing about Sean Miller. Sean Miller knows how to make it a football game. What I mean by that is he knows how to sort of break the game down into the half court and say, all right, Tremont Mark, Dalen Swain, and then you watched last night, like their bigs fought, man. They had two guys with double-figure rebounds. I know how to pronounce most names. Their one big man, I have trouble pronouncing his name. You all know who I'm talking about, but man, they are a team that just they grind and they grinded in the SEC. And not to say BYU didn't. BYU's got to get Texas going like this. They got to make it high volume, high shot, and then DeBonce has got to be the best guy on the floor. But I do think that Texas can win that game. I got VCU. I know I might be going out on a limb, but I do like VCU because I think VCU, Terrence Hill does a lot of different things for that team, and Jadrian Tracy is a guard who initiates quite well, and they're pretty solid defensively. I think it could be Phil Martelli Jr.'s time. And I kind of got this hunch that the Rams are not done yet. The Atlantic 10 tournament champion has notoriously had success in the first round. Recently, Duquesne beat BYU when Mark Pope was at BYU. Keith Dam brought his final act. Remember when Richmond shocked Iowa in Buffalo a few years back? The A10 tournament champion is a good idea in the first round of the tournament, history says.
You bet on this Wednesday. Westwood One Sports, John Fanta, NBC Sports. He looks great. Sounds great too, is our guest on social media at John_Fanta. This is a simple one for you. Who do you have winning the South region, which is the Florida region, obviously, with Houston as the 2 and Illinois the 3, and why?
Yeah. Well, I want the Houston-Illinois game. Like, selfishly.
We're going to get that, right? Like, we're going to get that, right?
Yeah, I want Florida Vandy and I want Houston, Illinois. I want a conference game there I want Florida Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt could beat Florida. When you're a league opponent, it's different, Nick. If that's a league game, it's different than a tournament game. Because the two teams, they forget the scouting. That's a show up and play game. Like, show up and play. Stop running. If advice to Todd Golden and Coach Byington, you're going to run through your 2 hours of video and 2 hours in the hotel ballroom with the tape. Let the players go out and bowl.
They played last week, right? That's the great thing about this. They just played, and Vandy crushed them.
I've been watching, exactly. If I were Florida, I'd be like, whatever we did to prepare for that game, throw it out the window.
Do something different.
Now, by the same token, if we get Illinois-Houston, which I think we will, the dynamic of the matchup is totally contrasting. It's kind of unbelievable. Like, Illinois is all offense. They're so skilled. Wagler can beat a great defense, and he has. And then the Ivisic brothers get on the glass, so them versus JoJo Tugler and Chris Sinak would be a lot of fun. Mirkovic is so talented. Stoya. To beat Houston, what do you need? You need people that can individually make a difference in the game and make shots. And Illinois has like 3 of them. But on the other side is Kingston Flemings and Emmanuel Sharp and Milo Shuzan. And when does Houston have a lot of success? Against teams that struggle at times to do what? To guard and to fulfill the stop and get the defensive rebound. So that could be an epic like 84-82 game. I have Houston coming out of the South because I think that team, our view on them is a little skewed because they were in an absolutely amazing Big 12. They lost a couple of games. They're better because of it. And I think that the Cougars will package a run together.
My last question on because I think the South region, I think the South and the East are the 2 most interesting regions. We'll do a little on the West, we'll do a little on the Midwest, but I think these are the most interesting. Like, Florida will be favored if they play Vandy, so I can't tell you it's like a shock if Florida wins that game. But I'll tell you what,
No.
as it stands right now, John, first off, like, I think I might pick Vandy to win that game against Florida. I will take either Illinois or Houston to beat Florida if they play. If Illinois gets past Houston and it's Illinois, Florida in the Elite Eight, obviously, like, we're not there. Things can happen. There can be injuries. Assuming everything's static, you're nodding. You'll like Illinois over Florida if that's the matchup in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, at that point I would. At the Illinois, if you put together, if we call all the rosters together here, looking out in the neighborhood right now, and I said, all right, everybody, like old school park games. All right, every team come on up. Like, let's judge the teams, okay? Like you're playing recess football. And you had to pick. All right, I typically was not the top pick in the draft. I typically was. Actually, you know what I did, Nick? Back in grade school, I would ask if I could coach the team so that I wasn't a part of the draft. I got to draft the team.
I was the broadcaster. I was the broadcaster. I would call the game.
Know your strengths. Know your strengths. So the thing is, if we said, all right, let's look at all these teams on paper. On paper, Illinois' got as much talent as anybody. You'd be like, Illinois could be the best team in this tournament offensively. They're the most skilled offensive team in this tournament. Like, tell me, am I wrong?
I don't think so. Like, they're the team that I would say that if they could score 100 points in any game against any opponent and you wouldn't blink an eye.
Not an eye. And like, Michigan has flaws offensively. They do. Arizona does. They got flaws offensively. They struggle to make threes. And I think it's going to do them in. I think Arizona's going to get upset by Arkansas in this tournament. Oh, there's a little bit of that. Yeah. I think the other thing I think is this. Everybody right now, what are we in, Nick? We're in a what have you done for me lately world, okay? So everybody's filling out their brackets, and they think they've got it all figured out. Like myself, we all think we got it all figured out. The sports gods have always told us throughout all of time, no matter the sport, just when you think you've got it all figured out, you certainly do not. And so I believe that everyone's like, no, the 13 will never do it again. It'll just never happen. It's NIL, it's resources. Something's going to happen in this thing on Thursday or Friday that makes you say, who had that on the bingo card? I just think there's too many of us that are like, yeah, it's not going to happen. It doesn't. The Cinderella's carriage, she might show up, but it's probably not going to. It's going to show up, and it's going to be in the spot that people didn't see it coming.
I love that, like the Roddy Piper line, just when you think you've got all the answers, I'm changing the questions. I absolutely love that. And like, look, it happens across every sport. Forget about sports. Like, that's like a life thing. You think you've got it figured out, and all the questions change. So
it's basketball.
Absolutely.
It's basketball.
A little bit of lightning round to close here. Have a couple minutes, and I know like we did way more on the left side of the bracket. I find it more interesting than the right side, but you know what? You like Arkansas to upset Arizona in the Sweet 16. Presumably Darius Acuff has a huge game if that happens. 30 seconds. Do you have Arkansas going to Indianapolis out of the West region, Purdue, or somebody else out of the West?
Woo pig suey. John Calipari is in the Final Four, and Nick, how much juice would that provide to the Final Four if Coach Cal is walking into Lucas Oil Stadium 2 wins shy of a title at Arkansas? 2 years removed from making as wild a move as we have seen, right? Like, it was wild, the coaching move as we have seen in college basketball. I was at an Italian restaurant parking lot in Arizona, on the story and thinking to myself, what in the world is happening right now? But this team is experienced. Billy Richmond, Brazil, Wagner, and then Acuff at the forefront. It's like he has ushered in this new wave for Arkansas where they're just so tough to stop. If Acuff gets downhill, forget it. He could have a 40-point game in this tournament, and I wouldn't bat an eye. And I think there will be a couple of 40-point games in this tournament because I just think scoring is up in college hoops, and the freshman class is ridiculously good. So I do have Arkansas. Coming out of the West, I think they meet Purdue in the regional final, and Acuff outlasts Braden Smith.
So you've got Duke, Houston, Arkansas. And the only thing that would give that more juice, by the way, if Arkansas makes it, part of me, not a strong enough part that I'll do it. Part of me wants to take Kentucky just because of the talent. Wow. I'm not going to do it, but part of me wants to do it. If we got Kentucky versus Arkansas, that would be great. Your final four teams, so this is the Midwest, is who? And then who do you have cutting down the nets in about a minute?
Man, I wanted to pick Iowa State. I really did. And I don't think there's any time like the present. If I were Iowa State and I saw that draw, I'd say, let's go. We got Taman Lipsey, Milan Momcilovic, Joshua Jefferson, and maybe the most underrated player in the country in Killian Torrey. Like, now is the time, Iowa State. You've been building for this. But I am not letting one conference championship game and a couple of close calls change my thinking on the Michigan Wolverines. They're getting to this thing. They've been as good as anybody. If you said they're the best team in the sport, I still agree with you. Do I think they've gotten a little bored at times? I do. And guess what? They're going to unleash here. This team is I'm not worried about their chemistry, and I'm not worried about their coach. And Yaxel Lendeborg is a stud, and he's a winner. The Wolverines are going to be there in Indy. They're going to be there.
Who do you like to win it all?
I'm still going with Duke. I think that there's a world where maybe an Arkansas keeps the magic going and makes the championship game. But I think that Duke wins their first title in over a decade. And it begins a new Shire wave, if you will. I think it's going to be good for people can hate on Duke all they want. Shire could be the coach there, as you and I discussed, for 30 years. But it's time. It's coming. He's going to get a national championship, and I think this team gets healthy enough. I think we see Gongba. I don't know if we see Foster, but Nick, Caden Boozer's not going to be looking over his shoulder. And Caden Boozer with his brother, he's solid. He doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. He just has to play. He's just got to initiate things. He's just got to play his role. Duke cuts down the nets.
I'll tell you. I needed it. I kind of needed it to happen last year. Still surprised it didn't. And that choke job against Houston Saturday night at the Final Four. We'll see if it happens this year. John, we love you, man. You're the best. Appreciate you. What do you got?
Miami University wins tonight. Team that will be sweating the most in their first round game. It's clear as day to me. We didn't bring them up. It's Nebraska. That whole state is riding on them winning a tournament game, and I think it'll be competitive. I think Troy knows that and will play loose.
I'm going to take it a step further. I think Troy's going to win.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Troy! The men of Troy have pulled off an opening round shocker!
That's right. Tom Osborne, Tommy Frazier, not walking through that door for Nebraska, John Fanta. Give me the fighting men of Troy against Nebraska in the 4-13 in the South region. You're the best. Amazing job covering college basketball all season long. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you guys.
The great John Fanta. What a great guy. Joining us here on You Better, You Bet. Absolutely love him. Went to his car so his son could nap to do this spot with us. He is a real mensch. All right, quick break. And on the other side, we continue the Sterling NCAA Tournament breakdown here on a Wednesday. Joe Fortenbaugh, ESPN Sports